We need to find out more about any kind of identifiers on the shooter, who he was, what his motivations were.
Here's what we know right now. Just moments ago, law enforcement identified the gunman as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. No motive has been identified yet.
We do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to identify what that motive was.
I am poring over this individual's background and their history. Nothing we are seeing right now points to whatever it was that drove this individual to get on top of that roof today. We don't know exactly what the motive is.
He was bullied almost every day. I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays. So, like, I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
We don't yet have any information about the motive of the shooter. We know who he is. I urge everyone, please, don't make assumptions about his motives or his affiliations. Let the FBI do their job.
President Biden today arguing that Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy.
Trump's not concerned about your future, I promise you. Trump is now promising a full-scale campaign of revenge and retribution for some years to come.
I am so concerned. I know we have all these conversations about how Democrats can't scare people to the polls. I am scared.
Let me help you out. I don't think that the threat that Trump poses is really being taken seriously enough by some people. Liz Cheney, who I've worked for and known for 20 years, recently said that she warned that we may be sleepwalking into a dictatorship.
One of the things that we see happening today is sort of a sleepwalking into a dictatorship in the United States.
We don't take an oath to a country, to a tribe, to a religion, to a king, or to a tyrant, or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
What is central here is, do we want a dictator? No matter how popular he may be, no matter how good or bad the results of his policies may be, no president is supposed to be a dictator in the United States.
I know Trump would like to become dictator for life, and he's probably watching Vladimir Putin with envy.
Donald Trump believes that he should be the ruler, the dictator of the United States of America. He actually is looking to change the Constitution.
No question he has authoritarian rulings and interests and notions which he will try and impose. That's dangerous for the country, and a number of the things he did in the last months of his presidency suggest what he'd do if he were elected again.
Trump represents an existential threat to democracy. He's an authoritarian figure. He's the first authoritarian figure ever nominated by a major party in the United States.
This rhetoric is so far outside the bounds of our normal politics that we have to address it as such. He doesn't see himself as a political candidate vying for the presidency. He sees himself as an insurgent who wants to overthrow the U.S. government. And that's what a lot of his people believe, too. He's completely outside the bounds of our political normalcy.
That hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Do you still think it's fair to compare the Nazi attack on the Jews to what happened on January 6th?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like a threat to democracy. I know with my father, who was part of the Nazi party, they were lied to. They were misled. And I think a lot of people in America today are being misled.
Most people would agree Donald Trump might be the most divisive presidential candidate ever. Many are openly comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Yes. There are just people who are going to be conservative, and they're about to take over the government. And they're not going to give it back.
Historians are now comparing what Donald Trump is saying in public on the campaign trail to dictators like Mussolini. He would try to stay in power forever.
If he becomes president again, he's never going... Listen, he's not going to not stop being president. You understand this? Yeah. His idea is to stay in until he drops dead.
That's it. He's not even conceding it now. So imagine if he actually did win the election. Yeah. It's over. If he gets elected, it's going to change this country for everybody.
We have a president who will refuse to leave office if he loses the election.
I never expected that my successor would embrace my vision or continue my policies. I did hope, for the sake of our country, that Donald Trump might show some reverence for the democracy that had been placed in his care. But he never did. Donald Trump hasn't grown into the job because he can't. And the consequences of that failure are severe.
They don't understand because they're saying that 26-year-olds and under are not feeling President Biden. You know, they better be careful what they want, because this is the generation that's going to lose their abortion rights and their voting rights. They're the ones to be worried. You don't replace dissatisfaction with a dictatorship.
Trump will put black people in camps.
If that man gets in, as soon as he takes the oath, he will have generals walk down the steps of the Capitol. He will take a hammer and break the glass where the Constitution is, and he will tear it up in our faces and say, now, I'm the king of the world. You will bow down, bitches. He will punish everybody that didn't vote for him. Let me tell y'all how I know this. I know it because I know what mental illness looks like.
We need to remind people the threat that Donald Trump poses, not just for 4 years, but for generations. Supreme Court is at risk. Women's rights are at risk. Civil rights are at risk. And I would just remind people of that.
You think that it's appropriate that somebody who incited that riot and won't apologize for it should get another term to run the country? He's 5 years old and he's a horrible, amoral human being. We can't have him. Oh, there are times I almost wish I could. Yeah, or somebody else would. We can't have him. He's dangerous.
Why don't we have any idea who his VP is going to be? Is it because he's not running for president of the United States? He's running for king of the United States, and there's no such thing as a vice king. This is a man who has been very clear that he plans to be a dictator. This is not going to end well for any of us. Dictatorships never do. So we would be smart to kill this one before it starts.
Oh, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.